Hey guys, John here with some thoughts on Nintendo's latest project. It's been a long wait for Zelda fans, but The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has finally been revealed. Breath of the Wild is Nintendo's first attempt at creating a systems-based open-world adventure, and it's brilliant. We're using footage here from Nintendo's own presentation this year, but I actually went hands-on with the game for a solid 30 minutes at E3 last week. So let's get into it. First impressions are strong, with a cold open leading out into a beautifully atmospheric world. It begins in a way that no recent Zelda game has, and it really works well. Of course, there are elements here that we've seen in other games once you get going. Climbing towers, clearing enemy encampments, and taking advantage of the elements, but the way in which all of this is integrated into the game without bombarding the player with tutorials really helps build a sense of adventure here. In many ways, it feels like a proper sequel to the original Legend of Zelda. It also features absolutely beautiful art direction. But such an ambitious game requires a solid technical foundation to truly come alive, and we were eager to see just how the Wii U would stack up. We've seen brilliant open world games on Wii U before, with Xenoblade Chronicles X standing out in particular, but Zelda is pushing a number of more modern visual effects that you might not expect to see at this scale on the Wii U. Fields of beautifully swaying, interactive grass stretch out before the player, while trees and particles blow gently in the wind. Techniques such as fire propagation, which allows the surrounding grass to catch fire, along with physics actually tied directly into the core gameplay. We also see other modern techniques in play here that aren't particularly common on Wii U, at least in Nintendo's games. Shadow maps and ambient occlusion are both used effectively here, for instance. We also see plenty of nice specular effects in play. Of course, while these are really nothing new, seeing them used together in an open world game on the Wii U is impressive. So what's the catch? Well, to put it simply, performance. Breath of the Wild targets 30 frames per second on Wii U, and it does a reasonable job of hitting that mark, but there is still work to be done. Exploration manages to stick reasonably close to the mark, but drops do still appear at points. When engaged in combat, however, we do start to see some issues in maintaining 30 FPS. Not surprisingly, things such as the fire propagation system also tend to trigger drops in performance, though thankfully, it does seem to level out pretty quickly here. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that this is just a snapshot of the game as it appears at E3, and there is still a lot of room for improvement. But at the same time, Nintendo is known for locking down its tech early in development, so we'll see. Still, while the performance numbers are somewhat disappointing, we also need to keep in mind that this is an open world game on the Wii U with plenty of modern visual effects. When compared to PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 open world games of the past, Zelda actually fares quite well. It's not rock solid by any means, but it's still impressive for the hardware where its CPU limitations have made systems-driven, open world games difficult to pull off. Yet even if the Wii U version doesn't manage to deliver a rock-solid frame rate by launch, at least in this case we also have the NX version to look forward to. While we remain uncertain as to what the NX actually is, rumored hardware could conceivably be able to deliver faster overall performance with superior image quality. The game does seem quite scalable after all, and pushing out distant LODs while addressing some of the image quality foibles will make a big difference. And speaking of image quality, Breath of the Wild operates at 1280 by 720, as expected, with no anti-aliasing or anisotropic filtering at all. It's a state of affairs made worse by the TV that I played the game on, which was very poorly calibrated. But as you can see in the video, it isn't quite as clear as we'd like. Textures become blurry just a couple of meters from the player, and distant details shimmer noticeably. Still, even with these limitations in mind, Breath of the Wild is shaping up to be a huge accomplishment both in terms of visuals and gameplay. It's perhaps the most ambitious game Nintendo has ever worked on, and it holds tremendous potential. We'll be keeping an eye on the game as development continues, and cannot wait to compare the Wii U and NX versions down the road. But for now, know that Nintendo is well on its way to delivering a modern classic. We really couldn't be asking for a better Wii U swansong. Well, that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, this is John, signing off.